Good afternoon and welcome to those who are taking part in this virtual event and all those who are currently following us through the Leeds Cathedral YouTube channel. My name is Deacon Joe Cortis. I am the coordinator of Caritas Leeds and co-chair of the Criminal Justice Inquiry. So why have we gathered this afternoon? Can we have the first slide, please? Our purpose for this afternoon is to launch and share with you the outputs from our 2-year-long Caritas Leeds Justice Inquiry. These includes a number of outputs, which is a formal report, a set of challenging recommendations for actions, and a range of online resources and a local directory of services and agencies working within the criminal justice system, serving the victims of crime, prisoners, ex-offenders, and their families. If we can move the slide, please. It is useful to offer a brief background to this initiative. Just under 2 years ago, Caritas Leeds held an open meeting to mark the second day of prayer of the poor, which Pope Francis initiated in 2017. The same year, incidentally, when our Caritas Leeds was launched. The main focus of this event was to hold workshops focusing on various groups in need to try to identify what are the current challenges faced by these groups and to explore ways in which the Church can help. One such group was prisoners and their families. Now, following feedback from each group, which incidentally included personal testimonials, the attendees of clergy and lay faithful voted to inform the social action priorities for the diocese through Caritas Leeds. The highest votes gained were to focus on young people and families and prisoners and families. So for the first priority, we have set up the Diocesan Youth Leadership Group, which we are calling the 12, working in partnership with Diocesan Youth Service. A group of committees from dioceses were recruited to develop a briefing paper and an implementation strategy to move forward with the other priority of focusing on prisoners and their families. So what were the aims of our inquiry? We can have the next slide, Matt, please. The first one was to increase the knowledge and understanding among Catholics of the United Kingdom's criminal justice and the experiences of people in our diocese who encounter it. This was important because it was useful for us to raise our own understanding and also to share that understanding widely afterwards. The second aim was to focus principally on the restorative justice, and we'll hear a little bit more about that in this afternoon. And the last two were to encourage Catholics to actually take actions. And Tom, the other co-chair of this inquiry, later on will be sharing with you the recommendations that came out from our inquiry. So how did we actually address this? We can have the next slide, Matt, please. We held regular meetings of our 15 commissioners. We included a lot of visits and to Magistrates Court, for example, prisons, etc. And we've had a number of meetings, and there are details on the slide here of those people whom we have engaged with. I mean, predominantly, this was a listening exercise for us. We wanted to hear the voices of people on the ground, including prisoners, ex-offenders, and victims of crime. And I'm sure you would agree that perhaps these latter three, their voices are not often heard. And we also studied a number of numerous national and local reports, statistics, etc. So as you can see, the task was quite extensive, but I think all the commissioners have actually pulled their weight, and we actually delivered what we intended to do. If we can have the next slide, please. Now, This slide actually gives us a little bit more detail on how we actually approached our visits and our listening exercise with the number of stakeholders which we have encountered during the last 2 years. Essentially, we wanted to know about their purpose, the experience, the challenges and successes, and also the important aspect of change, and how can the church actually help in this. We'll perhaps stay a little bit longer on that slide. Can we go to the next slide, please? So a crucial question is, how did we make sense of the rich information we have gathered? Now, through a financial grant awarded by the Diocese of Leeds, we were able to employ a part-time researcher to analyze the rich data gathered and draw up themes informed by the following 2 key questions. We can have the next slide, please, Matt. So as you can see, these 2 research questions are linked very well with our aims of the inquiry. So essentially, this was the basis of the report which has been formulated as a result of this inquiry. You can have the next slide, please, Matt. So essentially, the outcome of this inquiry in terms of the fieldwork and the analysis has been incorporated into a formal report, which we gave the title of Justice and Mercy. These are 2 key important concepts which have informed our inquiry, and there are details there that you can actually access the report through the diocesan website. If we can remove that slide, please, and insert the other one, please, Matt. So the program for this afternoon, we've got a nice graphic there of the running order. In a little while, we'll start off with a scripture reading. We have 2 key speakers and 4 testimonials from individuals who are engaged within the criminal justice system or have a personal experience of it. And then my colleague Tom, the co-chair of the inquiry, will share with you the recommendations from our inquiry and also launch the online resources which we have developed. And then we'll have some closing remarks at the end. So if we now move to the scripture reading, if we can have the next slide, Matt, please. The scripture reading chosen for this afternoon is a reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. Jesus said to his disciples, "When the Son of Man comes in his glory, and all the angels with him, then he will sit on his glorious throne. Before him will be gathered all the nations, and he will separate one from another, as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. And he will place the sheep at his right hand, but the goats on the left. Then the king will say to those at his right hand, 'Come, O blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you welcomed me. I was naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came to me.' Then the righteous will answer him, 'Lord, when did we see you hungry and fed you, or thirsty and give you drink? And when did we see you a stranger and welcomed you, or naked and clothed you? And when did we see you sick or in prison and visit you?' And the king will answer them, 'Truly I say to you, as you did it to one of the least of these of my brethren, you did it to me.'" The Gospel of the Lord. I invite you now perhaps to reflect just for a moment on that gospel reading. If we can remove the slide, please, Matt. Now we move to our first speaker this afternoon, the Right Reverend Marcus Stock, the Bishop of Leeds. Bishop Marcus was consecrated a bishop in November 2014 at Leeds Cathedral and installed as the 10th Bishop of Leeds on the day. Before this, Bishop Marcus, amongst other positions, was a parish priest, an RE teacher, a director of schools for the Archdiocese of Birmingham, and General Secretary for the Bishops' Conference of England and Wales. Bishop Marcus, you're very welcome, and I invite you to address us.